Hello. Hello. Hello, I am Alphonso McGift III, and this is Alphonso Speaks. I use this platform to share information about conscious conversations. Conscious conversation, or the conscious conversation experience, is a collaboration and movement that chooses love and enlightenment. I have to say that every single time I come on the air, because if I go on social media, I can't, well, I go on social media every day, so that means I can't go a day without seeing us arguing and fighting and hurting each other. And then when I go on YouTube, they have videos about people unaliving three of their own family members, five of their own family members, and these kind of things are going on. So I feel like it is my destiny to share the information that I share. I think it's extremely useful, especially in the climate that we are living in right now, where everybody is so quick. I mean, road rage. Everybody's just so quick to fighting in grocery stores, fighting at the gas station, shootouts. All of this stuff starts in most cases with arguments. And the key about arguments is they're like Russian roulette. We have no idea how they're going to end, especially when we have two people who have completely lost emotional control of themselves. We just have no idea how it's going to turn out. So I don't have a big part right now, but I plan on having a big part. And what I mean by that is I don't have a huge platform, and I am not traveling all over the country and the world as of yet to share this information, but I believe it's extremely useful. I believe my book is extremely useful, The Roots of a Tree, the Genesis of Conscious Conversation. And the focus is how we can be better with how we verbally interact with one another. So I think that at some point, the information that I like to share will become very useful to a lot of people around the world. I like to remind you of the Taste of the Caribbean Arts and Culture Connecticut Inc. presents the Hartford, Connecticut's Taste of the Caribbean Jazz Festival. And that takes place on Saturday, August 1st and 26th. And that'll be a week from this Saturday, right? No, what's today's date? Yeah, it'll be a week from this Saturday. So in less than 2 weeks, the Taste of the Caribbean Jerk Festival will be taking place. So you want to try to make it down there and enjoy the food and the music and the people, the environment and the energy and the atmosphere, all of that stuff, the vendors. You want to make sure you can present that information. I mean, get there and enjoy that information I just shared with you. I'm also offering myself that if you'd like to have this conversation, uh, individual conscious conversation, or a conscious conversation with a group of people. And it doesn't really matter what you want to talk about. It's about how you talk about it and the quality of the conversation that we engage in. So if you would like to have a conscious conversation, we can get together and talk about it and make it happen. Because that is what I do, and I think I'm good at it. And I actually, I know I'm good at it, and I actually have great information that people who want to be better can use. And I definitely help better decisions. I've helped myself. And this is not something that I just popped up and it was a fad for me. It's like, oh, the latest thing is to be a speaker and all of this kind of stuff. No, this is something I've been working on for 25 years, at least. Not only is it something I've been working on for 25 years, but it's a byproduct of me working on myself for 25 years. And like I always say, this is what I identify as my area of expertise. However, my area of expertise is simply based on my personal experience and what makes sense to me. That's it. I believe in special degrees in psychology and social work and therapy, all of that other stuff. But I can't give you some good information as it relates to how to have a better life because it has made my life better. So I am the walking example of how the information has helped me. I'm here to help myself and people around the world transform conflict into conscious conversation, understanding, resolution, and enlightenment. Understanding, resolution, and what is a conscious conversation? A conscious conversation is a verbal interaction where we speak with the desire to understand. We ask questions, we share information. We take responsibility for our thoughts, words, and actions and control our prejudices and emotions, which, if left unchecked, will disrupt the goal of having a conscious conversation. The strength of a conscious conversation is its ability to inspire rather than manipulate. Ultimately, the conscious conversation experience is a pathway to understanding, resolution, and enlightenment. I've learned that developing myself can lead to unnecessary challenges with insecure people who are intimidated by those who have a sense of self. It's not our problem, but it is one of the consequences or challenges associated with our own personal growth. When we work on our own personal growth, there's some kind of thing that happens with insecure people. You become their target. So that's just the warning. So you won't be caught off guard as you start growing and enjoying yourself a lot more, enjoying your decisions a lot more, enjoying your circumstances associated with better decisions a lot more. There are obviously people that have a problem with that. And you have to be alert so that you can recognize these because everybody's different. And some people will try to work to make you uncomfortable or make you feel like something's wrong with you. And others will try to hurt you. So it's not sexy to be around insecure people. And like I always say, I be trying to be sexy. So you got to protect yourself when it comes to being in the presence of insecure people because they will look for ways. The more they're around you, the more they'll look for ways to and make you uncomfortable. That's just a part of this reality. So the thought that I'm willing to have a conscious conversation about tonight is we allow people to teach us that our life should be a constant fight or struggle for whatever. Life will constantly fight us. And how is this living? When I was growing up, I used to constantly hear about the idea of being a revolutionary and joining the struggle. Joining the struggle. You got to join the struggle. And it sounded kind of normal to me back then, being a part of the struggle. And as I began working on myself and moving out of the angry space, I began to reject, because I saw life on a grander scale. I saw life as a lot bigger than waking up every morning ready to struggle. And that is not sexy. So as I thought more and more about it, I realized that the more we look for a reason to fight and struggle, the more life will fight us. And how's that living? I don't believe I was born to fight every day and all day, or to look for a fight, or to be in the street for a fight. I don't think that that's a healthy approach to living, to believe that I have to wake up every day struggling and fighting. And I don't want to fight with anybody. That's why I don't force thoughts on people. I just share the information. You can take it or leave it. It's a beautiful thing. And so that's what I do. Share the information, take it or leave it alone. I'm not trying to get anybody to do anything. That's a very unhealthy approach to verbal communication. Trying to get somebody to do something. Somebody shares information with me that makes sense to me and it resonates with me, then I can take it and apply it in my life and continue to make myself better. If they share some information that doesn't make sense to me, then I leave it alone. I'm not afraid to listen, but I'm definitely not going to wake up and join anybody's struggle. If somebody asks me to join the struggle, I'm going to turn around and run in the opposite direction as fast as I possibly can, because I know life is bigger than fighting and struggling. Life is huge, and so many of us have withdrawn ourselves to these small, limited spaces and paradigms, and we miss out. We miss out on life. There's a gentleman who was a great man to me. He was my piano teacher. His name was Emery Austin Smith, and his family identified me as a bonus son. I was one of his bonus sons, and I don't take that for granted because he and we were pretty cool. We were real cool, and I endured a few cussing outs. You couldn't deal with suspect and not get cussed out. At some point, you're gonna get cussed out. So and he was definitely feisty. And the last time I saw him, the last time I was with him, we were listening to these different musicians, um, Count Basie, Dizzy Gillespie, uh, Errol Garner, and these different pianists, different musicians. And he was smiling and he was telling me the history of each one. And so, as I was leaving, the last time I saw him, I was leaving. He said, "Hey," I said, "What's up, Doc?" He said, if I had known that I was going to do this, I would have taken better care of myself. And I felt that, I mean, that message was so powerful to me. And for him, for that to have been the last thing that he said to me before he passed away about a week later, it resonated with me. And I constantly think about how I can take better care of myself mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, you know, with everything from the kind of food I eat to the kind of company I keep to the kind of thoughts that I allow to cross my mind. And I would like to be 94 and still be healthy. And I honestly don't want to feel like if I'd have took care of myself, if I'd have known I was gonna live this long, I would have took better care of myself. I want to be as healthy as possible right to the end. And the best way to do that is to take care of myself as much as possible. So I don't have time to be trying to join a struggle and be fighting and waking up looking for reasons to be mad at it. Just not, that's just not living. That's not living. So everything that I do is about making me a better person. Everything that I do is about making me a better person. That's my objective on this planet, is to constantly improve the quality of who I am. And so, and with him telling me that at 94, and that was the last thing he said to me, one of his bonus sons, um, I take that very serious. So I would be willing to have a conscious conversation about this idea of joining the struggle or being part of the struggle and what that means. The next thought that I ask every night is, in what way do I make decisions that hurt me? Because I have to ask myself these questions to find out exactly what I'm doing that doesn't work for me. That's not sexy. Doing something that doesn't work for me, or at least me doing something that doesn't work for me. I don't consider that sexy. And I'll be trying to be sexy. So um, the question is, do I spend much of my time resisting and resenting while searching for reasons to be upset or disappointed? I would like to say, if I were to continue thinking in terms of race and being caught up in this race thinking and race thinking, it's so funny how we talk about historically our ancestors didn't do this. Our ancestors, we didn't have Christianity, we didn't have Jesus, and we didn't have the Bible. And our ancestors, we ate like this, and we had spiritual practices. We search high and low and argue hard about what our ancestors did and what our ancestors represent, how our ancestors represented themselves. But we never get to that part where our ancestors weren't preoccupied with race. We just learned how to do this a few hundred years ago. Our ancestors were not preoccupied with race because they moved from a universal foundation, universal laws, principles, and understandings, because that is the truth. That's where the truth is located, in universal laws, principles, and understandings. And if what we're practicing is not located in truth, it's not rooted in universal laws, principles, and understanding what the truth is, then we're not working in our own best interest. A simple, a simple universal law or universal understanding is he who is most comfortable is the least likely to change. That's a universal law. But the law that goes with that is he who is doing the most complaining has to do the most changing. Now, if we put that universal understanding into practice, our lives will be so much easier for us. If we understand that he who is most comfortable is the least likely to change, that means if we get comfortable where we are and don't continue growing, after a while, we won't have any interest in growing. Or another way to look at that is he who is most comfortable is the least likely to change. If you're living with somebody and you fussing every day about something they do and you still there, why should they change their behavior? They're comfortable. Matter of fact, they're so comfortable that they're even comfortable with knowing that you're gonna fuss. Now, when you look at the other side of that thought, he who is doing the most complaining has to do the most changing. That's the truth. That is universal law also. So if you find yourself doing a lot of complaining, then the universe is saying you need to do some change, make some changes for yourself in your own best interest. Universal law. Universal law is the truth. Another universal understanding that if we just applied it to ourselves every day, every we would everything would improve automatically. It's a simple understanding, and that understanding is as I work to improve the quality of who I am, every environment I walk into is better because of my presence. And what that means is if everybody just worked on themselves, everything would get better. But no, everybody wants to tell everybody else what to do and how they should. And the very people they're telling what to do and how they should live, they will never let that person tell them how to live. No, never. But they will argue and fight and even hurt each other, trying to make somebody else live the way they think that person should. So we have to focus on ourselves. I remember some years ago, I used to be heavy into the Nation of Islam, following Farrakhan and listening to his speeches. And then after a while, I didn't really understand his direction and what he was doing. So I had some criticism. And a older gentleman, kind of like a mentor to me, he said, rather than criticize him, why don't you just do what you think is best? And that was just some beautiful advice. And that's what I've been doing ever since. That's why I wrote this book. That's why uh, even though I'm not as impactful right now as I would like to be, I'm gonna keep speaking until I am because I know that I have a message that the world can use. mean, there's so much conflict and confrontation, so much arguing and fighting going on. That's where I flourish in conversations about how we can limit arguing and fighting with children, with young people and adults. I have no problem having a conversation with any age, but I can say that I'll never have the conversation with the desire to get anybody to do anything. I'll have the conversation with the purpose, with the goal of sharing the information, and then you can take it and do what you want. Nobody to do anything. And some of these young people that I see today, they're so unprepared for reality because they're in these environments that make them feel like the world revolves around them and they can do anything, or they can say anything to people and just get away with it. And they're gonna have a difficult time when they reality. And they're being set up to go to one of what I call five places: to the emergency room, to the psych ward, to the rehabilitation center, to the morgue, or the prison. That's the only way I could say it. They're being set up. Emergency room, psych ward, rehabilitation from addiction, the morgue, or the prison. And when they get out here and hit this reality and find out nobody cares about them, and you can't just do and say anything to people, it's going to be a tough life for them. So I am here to try to help them avoid that if I can by sharing information. Because sometimes, I mean, even when I grew up and somebody would give me some good advice and share information with me, at the time I wasn't ready to listen, but I still had the information. And so when I found myself in certain positions, I went and grabbed for those dots and started putting them dots together, started making them work for me the best way I can because at the time they were given to me, I wasn't ready to hear it. But it's okay if they're not ready to hear it. They gotta hear it so they can at least have something that's still rooted in their subconscious mind. And when they find themselves in certain situations, they actually have something there to grab for, to try to pull themselves out of some of these situations. So do I spend much of my life resisting and resenting while searching for reasons to be upset and disappointed? If that's something that's being done, you gotta know life is much bigger than that. And just like the guy who says, if you could feel any way you wanted to, how would you feel every day? And people say, well, I want to feel good. And you ask the question, well, why don't you? Choose something else. You choose something else. I remember I used to choose something else. I used to wake up ready to verbally smash people. I used to read and research information just so I could verbally. remove heads, and I am so overjoyed that over the last 25 years I have removed myself that kind of energy and mindset. And what I have to offer is powerful. And again, if you have a one-on-one conscious conversation, let me know. If you want to bring a group of people together, adults or young people, let me know. We can get together and do it. And all I'm asking for is some water. That's it. Let's make it, because I just feel like I'm sitting on a for information, and I think the world is ready for it. I just haven't quite figured out how to get myself out there to give it to the world. I'm not a publicist. And nowadays, when you have Chat GPT and these AIs, I guess maybe you don't need a publicist, but it is a lot of work putting this information together and putting lessons together. Right now, if I wanted to, I can do a three-day workshop, 6 to 8 hours a day, with the information that we have to offer together. So a 2 hour get together is nothing. I can pull the information together and do a 2 hour get together. But at the end of the day, right now, where I am, this is where I am now. Somebody wants to get together and have a conscious conversation. Because those are the only kind of conversations I'm interested in. Conscious conversation. Not interested in fighting with anybody or arguing with anybody or trying to win or see who knows the moves. If that's what you want to do, or try to create gotcha moments and all of that stuff, I'm not. I don't want to engage in that. I want to engage in a conversation where we have the opportunity to potentially learn from each other. So that's where it is. And I just want to remind you again that Taste of the Caribbean Arts and Culture Connecticut Inc. presents Hartford, Connecticut Taste of the Caribbean Jerk Festival, Saturday, August 1st, 2026. And also, my buddy Kyle Anderson, he's running for state representative. He says he's fighting. So if you know Kyle, he's a good person, and I think that I'm not into politics, but I know him personally, and if he's trying to do something, I know he's a good person trying to do the right thing. So if you're in the voting and you want to support Kyle, support the brother. Now I'll say this, that I'm so naive to the whole political thing that I don't know. I might know the person Kyle is running against, and if I were to know them and they were a good person, I'll put up their card too and say, hey, this is a good person also. I don't know who he's running against, so and I have this information, so I'll just let you know that Kyle is out there doing his thing, and I got his back because he's a good guy, from what I know. I thank you for tuning in. If you're doing anything right now in this very moment, and you chose to give time in your life, whether it be live or whether you replay, um, I do not take it for granted. I love you all, and I always will, and I will never give up on our people ever. Make sure you have a wonderful rest of your